Dear honorary doctorates, dear guests, colleagues, dear friends, welcome to this honorary doctoral degree award ceremony. The honorary degree has a long history. Ever since the first honorary degree was awarded in the 15th century, the honorary doctorate has been a way for the academic communities to recognize the efforts of people outside their own institutions. In some institutions throughout history, honorary doctors have been bestowed full rights as members of academies. In other cases, honorary doctorates have been a sign of respect and prestige among social elites. The exact meaning behind an honorary degree has varied with time and context. Even still, it has always been an honor reserved for those of high virtue. The degrees have been given to those who have changed their fields, societies, and humanity at large for the better. At the University of Bergen, an honorary doctorate is a sign of recognition from our entire academic community. It is a sign of recognition of the work and effort of individuals outside our institution towards advancing the sciences or humanity in general. Our process in deciding the new honorary doctorates is both rigorous and comprehensive. The nomination for the new candidates come from our academic community itself. All departments at the university are invited to nominate candidates to the honorary doctorates. The faculties and the university leadership agrees on the final candidates, and the final candidates are then forwarded to the university board, who makes a final decision. This process means that each and one of the honorary doctors standing here today has been recognized as outstanding by all levels of our academic community, and therefore the honorary doctorate is the highest honor we can confer on a member outside of our own institution. For the first time in 3 years, the academic community at the University of Bergen is recognizing the outstanding contributions of 8 new honorary doctors. Author and PhD Bergsvein Birgisson for his written work, which has made knowledge about Norse cultural heritage available for a large and wide audience. Professor Hans Petter Graver for his extensive work on jurisprudence in respect of a number of legal topics, and for his work as a public debater and the chair of various legislative committees. Professor Sverker Sørlin for his research on societal challenges such as environmental and climate policy in a humanistic perspective. Artist Britta Marakat Labba for her work as visual artist, debater and teacher, in which she clearly portrays the strong position of Sami culture in contemporary art. Professor Fiamma Straneo for her extensive world-leading research and presentation of the ocean's role in climate change. Professor Elena Planta for her leading international speech therapy research and her pioneering work on the study of language difficulties in children. Researcher Rajiv Bal for his influential work on maternal and child health through solid research. And last but not least, Professor Akil Josef Mbembe for his sound research on history and politics. We at the University of Bergen appreciate all you have done for the furthering of science and humanities, and we are very proud to have you here today. As a university, our premier task is to create new knowledge through our research. And this research is the ground, it's the basis of our education and our knowledge dissemination. In creating new knowledge, we contribute to advancing society by shaping it through knowledge. Usually, we work toward this end in our day-to-day work as scholars. Through scholarly work, we aim to advance the sciences and humanities in general. These are our highest goals. A university as ours is about taking intellectual risks. It's about creativity. It's about leaving the comfort zone. And it's also about empathy. And it is first and foremost a work of patience. You, honorary doctors, have embraced the same virtues, risks, intellectual strength, and patience. It is all about perduring engagement. A famous quote by Bob Dylan from the 90s is, "Most people don't do what they believe in. They just do what is convenient and then repent." A university and a solid intellectual and artistic engagement is not about convenience. It is not about what is convenient at an individual level or what may serve us here and now. It is about long-lasting engagement. Because that lasting engagement and knowledge building is what creating a sustainable society and world is really about. We are experiencing difficult years. We have a war in Europe, a pandemic that has had a strong impact on equity. We have the infodemic, climate change, and also anxiety now about geopolitical risks and energy supplies, just to mention some. Universities are anchor institutions to society. In times as ours, the values of solid knowledge, patience, patient learning, and lifelong engagement comes forth with all its strength. It is about being prepared, about believing in something. It's not about the immediate convenient. It's not about immediate convenience. Because, as Søren Kierkegaard stated, we live our lives forwards, but we understand it backwards. Thank you so much to all of you new honorary doctors, and congratulations.
Dear honorary doctors, dear colleagues and friends, it is a joy and an honor to lead you through the Honorary Degree Award ceremony today. Firstly, thank you to our rector for your, also to the musicians. We heard our procession fanfare played by Alan Withington and Svein Henrik Giske on trumpet, Vidar Nordli on trombone, and Peter Cates on percussion. Also, a big thanks to the wonderful Edvard Grieg Vocal Ensemble for their performance of movements from Edvard Grieg's Holberg Suite. We will now begin the Honorary Degree Award ceremony. I ask, therefore, Professor Camilla Brautaset, Dean of the Faculty of Humanities, to enter the podium.
Dear honored guest, dear rector, upon the recommendation of the Faculty of Humanities, the University Board has decided to confer an honorary doctorate upon the following person, Professor Sverker Sørlin. Sverker, I would now kindly ask you to join us on the podium, please. Sverker Sørlin is professor in environmental history at the KTH Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm. Professor Sørlin is a highly distinguished scholar with a remarkable broad field of interest, including the history of science, environmental history, European history, as well as both the history and politics of higher education. Exploring current societal challenges through the lens of the humanities stand out as a common denominator of his work. Professor Sørlin has held multiple university management positions in Swedish academia, and he's also been a visiting scholar at some of the most prestigious universities in the world, including Berkeley, University of Cambridge, as well as Princeton. Sverker Sørlin is a prolific writer and has published numerous books and articles. Throughout his career, he's placed emphasis on communication with a broad audience. His work has the vital quality of making scholarship available to specialists as well as non-specialists. And furthermore, Sørlin has also played a key role through offering policy advice on issues such as research policy and environmental policy in Sweden as well as internationally. It is nigh impossible to pay justice to such a long and distinguished career in just 5 minutes. Still, I would like to highlight 2 standout features. First, Professor Sørlin has demonstrated an immense mobility in terms of academic environment, but perhaps most importantly, and as an inspiration to us all, intellectual mobility. And second, Professor Sørlin is a lodestar when it comes to bringing the humanities to the forefront of public discourse. A key argument in one of his recent books is how knowledge and Bildung must be a collective rather than an individual enterprise for us as a society to face the most pressing issues of our time, including that of climate change. Thank you, Sverker, for not only underscoring the importance of knowing together, but also for your relentless effort in ensuring that we do exactly that. Sverker, it's an honor for us to welcome you, and we are pleased that you have agreed to accept the token of our recognition and appreciation of your work. And I now kindly ask our rector and our university director to present you with your doctoral diploma and ring.
honored guests, Rector. Upon the recommendation of the Faculty of Medicine, the University Board has decided to confer an honorary doctorate upon the following person, Dr. Rajiv Bal. Regrettably, Dr. Bal has been prevented from coming to Bergen today because of an acute illness in his close family. We wish all the best for Dr. Bal and his family, and we hope that he's able to follow the streaming of the ceremony. I will now read a summary from the Faculty of Medicine's recommendation. Dr. Rajiv Bal is an outstanding pediatrician and epidemiologist from India who has led research on newborn, child, and adolescent health at the World Health Organization in Geneva since 2013. His research priority-setting initiatives guided investments that has resulted in a marked expansion of evidence for interventions to improve newborn and child survival and promote growth and development in low and middle-income countries. Dr. Bal has coordinated large multi-country studies on management of diarrhea, pneumonia, and neonatal sepsis, kangaroo mother care, and promotion of growth and development. These studies have identified effective interventions and implementation strategies to achieve high coverage. Collaborating with ministries of health in several countries, Dr. Bal guides health investments and facilitates the incorporation of new knowledge and guidelines into programs. He has also made important contributions to research capacity strengthening in South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa. Dr. Bal has also helped us a lot here at the University in Bergen. He has assisted in developing the teaching of materials for 3 highly praised courses in epidemiology at the UiB Center for International Health, and he has lectured in these courses for many years. He was also centrally involved in developing applications for research projects funded by the EU, the Norwegian Programme for Development, Research and Education, and from the Research Council of Norway. Moreover, he was an essential collaborator and expert for securing funding for one of the centers of excellence here at the University of Bergen, namely the Center for Intervention Science on Maternal and Child Health, or also known as CISMAC. It is truly an honor for us, and we are very pleased that Dr. Rajiv Bal has agreed to accept the token of our recognition and appreciation of his work. And I now ask the Rector and the University Director to present Dr. Bal with a doctoral diploma and ring. And since Dr. Bal could not be here with us today, I now ask Professor Halvor Sommerfeld to approach the podium to receive our token of recognition on Dr. Bal's behalf.
Honored guests, Rector, upon the recommendation of the Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences, the University Board has decided to confer an honorary doctorate upon the following person, Professor Fiammetta Stranio. Would Professor Stranio please approach the podium? Fiammetta Stranio is a world expert in the climate of polar regions, and in particular in the warm Gulf streams branching towards the Arctic, including its influence on Greenland's glaciers. Stranio obtained her PhD in physical oceanography in 1999 from the University of Washington in the US, following a laurea cum laude in physics in 1993 from the University of Milan in Italy. She is presently a professor of oceans and climate and also a co-director of the Polar Center at the Scripps Institution of Oceanography of the University of California in San Diego. And there is a historical line with Scripps. The legendary director of Scripps, oceanographer and meteorologist Harald Ulrik Sverdrup, the chief scientists of Amundsen's Maud expedition, were actually called to Scripps from our own geophysical Institute. And in addition, Sverdrup on Maud were Odd Dahl, UiB's first honorary doctor, awarded in '52. We are proud to see this special connection between our two institutions, not least of the scientific excellence created, being manifested with you, Fiamma, being here with us today. You have dedicated yourself to observing in order to understand the Arctic climate through extensive fieldwork, using icebreakers, fishing vessels, helicopters, snowmobiles, and autonomous surface and underwater vehicles, based on a broad collaboration with colleagues from all over the world. And here I take the opportunity to welcome you all to Fiamma's guest lecture at Vilvite tomorrow at 11, highlighting the collaborative scientific journey to the edge of the Greenland ice sheet. Fiammetta means little flame, according to Wikipedia, and Fiamma Stranua has been a leading light for many of our young and not so young researchers in Bergen through long-time collaboration. From generously inviting them into your home, I know, to gently discussing with them and inspiring them to the highest scientific standards. On the international scene and throughout her career, Stranua has been a leader in gender equality and diversity in climate research, with leadership roles in networks such as mentoring physical oceanography women to increase retention, providing mentoring to junior women in physical oceanography, and a promoter of inclusive collaborative science across nations and disciplines. She is also a co-chair of the Climate and Cryosphere program and a contributing author of the 6 assessment reports of the Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change. Fiamma, it is an honor for us to welcome you, and we are pleased that you have agreed to accept the token of our recognition and appreciation of your work. And I now ask the rector and the university director to present you with your doctoral diploma and the ring.
Honored guests, Rector, upon the recommendation of the Faculty of Law, the University Board has decided to confer an honorary doctorate upon the following person, Professor Hans-Petter Graver. Would you please now approach the podium? Professor Hans-Petter Graver works at the Faculty of Law at the University of Oslo. He is a prominent contemporary legal scholar. First of all, he is an author of numerous academic works, articles and monographs. And as you may know, legal scholars still write books which are read. Contrary to many legal scholars, Professor Graver not only writes books for legal practice, he has also done important research on the rule of law and on academic values, as well as the particular method of academic legal scholars, distinguishing it from the method of lawyers in practice. His writing has contributed to shape our generation of legal researchers. Graver has also reached out to an international audience in a way that few domestic legal scholars do. He has also been translated into several languages. Graver has also had influence beyond legal scholarship, for instance, as a president of the Norwegian Academy for Science and Letters. Graver has a close connection to Bergen. Even though educated in Oslo and having lived his academic life in our capital, he has contributed to our faculty throughout his career. He has held several lectures and workshops and served as member in many PhD evaluation committees. He has worked closely with many colleagues at the faculty, and in an interview he emphasized how he has been inspired by Professor Jan Fridtjof Bernt and the late David Doublé. Graver has chaired legislative committees on various issues. These have not only led to amendments of our legislation, but also to legal inventions. Debt settlement for private persons was out of question before 1992. Until then, personal bankruptcy meant that your debt followed you until you were buried. Investment taking into account human rights and sustainable development was seen as economic unsound until we have the ethical guidelines for the Norwegian Oil Fund in 2004. Graver chaired both the committees, leading to these fundamental shifts in legal thinking. One of Graver's many areas of interest is the rule of law. During the pandemic, he has been active in the public debate and has questioned the legality of severe restrictions on individual liberty. Graver was a counsel for the private parties for the Norwegian Supreme Court in the recent leading case regarding whether rules on entry quarantine from Sweden were legitimate. Hans-Petter Graver, I may not always agree with you, but your contributions to academic thinking and public debate are significant. Your works do not only contribute to maintain the rule of law, but also to develop it. I would also emphasize your academic mindset. You always try to understand the arguments of your peers and discuss matters thoroughly. Your impact in our society goes beyond most lawyers in our time. Hans-Petter, it is an honor for us to welcome you, and we are pleased to have you agreed to accept the token of our recognition and appreciation of your work. And I now ask Rector and University Director to present you with your doctoral diploma and ring.
Honored guests, Rector, upon the recommendation of the Faculty of Psychology, the University Board has decided to confer an honorary doctorate upon the following person, Professor Elena Planta. I will now kindly ask Professor Planta to approach the podium. Elena Planta is a professor in the Department of Speech, Language and Hearing Sciences at the University of Arizona. She is also a nationally certified and licensed speech-language pathologist. She has dedicated her research to developmental language disorder, one of the most frequently occurring, yet hidden, disabilities that occurs across countries, cultures and languages. And through her broad-based and sustained program of research, Professor Planta has become one of the world's foremost experts on this disorder. Her earliest work first linked this condition to altered brain development rather than poor parenting practices or limited childhood experiences. Her recent efforts have focused on why these individuals struggle to learn the structure and meaning of language, especially when it comes so effortlessly to most. Her research can be summarized into 5 strands. First, the biological basis of specific language impairment, where Professor Planta was one of the pioneers during the late 1980s using brain images techniques to study language impairments in children. And secondly, she was a main actor in the first large-scale effort to document longitudinal changes in brain development through childhood. The third strand concerns the very nature of language impairment, especially on verbal and less obvious non-verbal deficits present in developmental language disorders in children. And strand 4 of Professor Planta's huge research activity has dealt with the diagnostic procedures, where she has contributed substantially to improve the quality of this applied field. And finally, Professor Planta has devoted research efforts into treatment of language impairment, where she and her research lab at the University of Arizona is in the forefront of developing evidence-based treatment procedures. Her work has led to a paradigmatic shift in treatment methods that are improving outcomes for those affected. Professor Planta's groundbreaking work in both assessment and treatment has been adapted by researchers and practitioners internationally. She has received numerous awards for her work, including the highest honor bestowed by the huge and influential American Speech, Language, or Hearing Association, where she also served as vice president for science and research for many years. You have been involved with the University of Bergen since the initiation of the logopedics program in 2006, generously sharing her expertise with both faculty members and students. She has since then been part of our university community as a guest teacher, collaborator, and career mentor to faculty here. She has long supported a partnership between the University of Bergen and University of Arizona that has hosted scientific exchange for a generation of students and teachers. Professor Planta, it is an honor for us to welcome you, and we are pleased that you have agreed to accept the token of our recognition and appreciation of your work. And I now kindly ask Rector and University Director to present you with your doctoral diploma and ring.
Honored guests, Rector, upon the recommendation of the Faculty of Social Sciences, the University Board has decided to confer an honorary doctorate upon the following person, Professor Ashil Mbembe. Professor Mbembe, would you please approach the podium? Ashil Mbembe is born in Cameroon, now residing in South Africa, though after a quite international career around several places. Mbembe is a professor at WITS Institute for Social and Economic Research at the University of Witwatersrand in Johannesburg. His academic career is broad, with a background in history and political science, and with several institutional connections. Mbembe is one of the editors of the Journal of Public Culture, published at Duke University Press, And he has previously held posts, among other places, I must say, at Duke University, at Columbia University, Yale University, University of California at Irvine, and University of California, Berkeley, to mention a few. Mbembe is one of the most profoundly original and creative scholars and intellectuals in today's world. And monographs like On the Post-Colony from 2001, Out of the Dark Night, Essays on Decolonization, published in 2019, Critique of Black Reason from 2017, and not least Necropolitics from 2019, include important contributions from Achille. They have established Achille Mbembe's reputation as a leading post-colonial intellectual over times. Central to his work has been the question of what it would mean to think the world from Africa. Yet, this very thinking the world from Africa for Mbembe means the active embrace of the very heterogeneous nature of the African experience, past and present, inspired by thinkers such as Frantz Fanon, Michel Foucault, Hannah Arendt, and Aimé Césaire. Mbembe has taken aim at the persistence of racism, dehumanization, and the denigration of blackness, Africa, and Africans in our time. In an extensive academic work, Mbembe has examined current topics such as climate change, pandemics, racism and racial injustice, and xenophobia, all based on colonial experiences. These historical experiences cast long global shadows, such as when the biosphere is destroyed by mining or when violent and racist regimes emerge from old destructive social orders. Importantly also, Professor Mbembe's work brings his work further to public and policy relevant advice. In an area riddled by such enormous local and global crisis, the scholarship of Professor Mbembe and interventions as a public intellectual transcend linguistic and national barriers. It serves as an inspiration to generations of scholars of African descent and addresses crucially important matters in our time. Achille, it is an honor for us to welcome you, and we are pleased that you have agreed to accept the token of our recognition and appreciation of your work, and will now ask the rector and university director to present you with your doctoral diploma and ring.
Honored guests, Rector, upon the recommendation of the Faculty of Fine Art, Music and Design, the University Board has decided to confer an honorary doctorate upon artist Britta Marakat Labba. So, Britta, if I may, would you please approach the podium? Visual artist Britta Marakat Labba graduated from Konstindustriskolan in Göteborg and Samiska Högskolan i Kautokeino. And in 2014, she was awarded the title Honorary Doctor by the University of Umeå in Sweden. She has taught at the Art Academy, Department of Contemporary Art at the University of Bergen on several occasions. In 2018, Brita Marakatt-Labba participated in a major international art exhibition, Documenta, in Kassel, in Germany. And her work, a 23-meter-long figurative tapestry, generated great attention, and the exhibition led to her international breakthrough, we could say. Throughout her extensive career, she has looked at Sami history and Sami cultural identity with a narrative excess and figurative richness of detail that has resulted in an immense visual art experience. Her work is both politically relevant and visually experimental. She creates visual narratives that challenge and expand upon what can be done through textile art. The use of Sami symbolism and narrative power are key to her work. The choice of Marakatt-Labba puts the spotlight on Sami culture and its strong position in contemporary art, but most of all on a leading Nordic visual artist who has developed entirely individual imagery through many years of work and is easily able to address key political and cultural topics. Brita Marakatt-Labba, it is an honor for us to welcome you, and we are pleased that you have agreed to accept the token of our recognition and appreciation of your work. And I now ask Rector and University Director to present you with your doctoral diploma and ring.
Honored guests, upon recommendation from the Rectorate, the University Board has decided to confer an honorary doctorate upon author Dr. Bergstein Birgisson. Would Bergstein Birgisson please now approach the podium? Bergstein Birgisson was born in Reykjavik in 1971. He is educated at the University of Iceland, University of Oslo, and the University of Bergen. He has lived in Norway and Bergen for extended periods and is currently residing in Iceland. He is a highly regarded author of fiction and a Norse scholar who conveys his subject matter in an innovative way. His contribution to the humanities in general and to the Norwegian-Icelandic cultural field in particular is unique. In 1992, Bergstein Birgisson debuted as an author of fiction with the collection of poems Íslendingurinn. Since then, a string of publications followed, collections of poems, novels, non-fiction, and scientific contributions. His work in fiction contains both historic and modern motifs and has been translated into multiple languages. Dr. Birgissen's novels have received great international acclaim, and his novel Svar vid brev i Helgu, Reply to a Letter from Helga, was shortlisted for the Nordic Council Literature Prize. The novel has been adapted for both theater and cinema. Dr. Birgissen completed his doctoral degree in 2008 at the University of Bergen with his dissertation Inn i skaldens sinn, kognitive, estetiske og historiske skatter i den norrøne skaldediktingen. He developed a method of approaching the mentality of skaldic poetry, especially with the poem Ynglingatal. His publication, Den svarte vikingen from 2013, unites a deep academic knowledge with literary empathy and creative communication skills. Mannen fra middelalderen from 2020 is about the 17th century historian and manuscript collector Tormod Torfæus, and it continues to focus on persons who build bridges between the Middle Ages and modern times in history. Dr. Birgissen's latest publication is the novel Kolbeinsøy from last year. Bergsvein, it is an honor for us to welcome you, and we are very pleased that you have agreed the token of your recognition and appreciation of your work. Our rector and university director will now present you with your doctoral diploma and ring.
Testimonio sei tu sola del mio fervido desir, ed a lei che mi innamora, con tai palpiti e i sospir, ed a lei che mi innamora, con tai palpiti e i sospir, ed a lei che mi innamora, con tai palpiti e i sospir, e i sospir, e i sospir. Se nutro in asperanza, e ai sol sì, e ai sol nell'avvenir. nell'amor che una speme lusinghiera mi conforta nell'amor che una speme lusinghiera mi conforta nell'amor nell'amor nell'amor.
We have now enjoyed the wonderful voice of an alum of the Grieg Academy Young Talents Program, Andreas Vivestad Jansson, accompanied by Knut Christian Jansson on the piano. They performed Vincenzo Bellini's Vega Luna che innocenti. It is a great honor and pleasure for me to introduce Professor Elena Planta, who will give a speech on behalf of our new honorary doctors. Elena, the floor is yours.
I want to begin by saying how truly honored I am by this award, and how grateful all of us who have been conferred today are for this recognition, which is, for me at least, and I think I speak for others, is a highlight of my career. So thank you for that. I also want to thank the Department of Biomedical Psychology and the program in logopedics who thought to nominate me for this, and I am particularly pleased by this because this department is extremely strong. For example, it is currently doing, and has for many years, some of the most innovative and important neuroimaging work that is informing fields such as medicine and psychology, linguistics, education, and of course my own field, logopedics. The program in logopedics, which is now 20 years old, I can hardly believe it, because I was around for its inception, is also outstanding in its own ways and does very important work. And I want to highlight what logopedics is all about, because for many of you, perhaps you've never even heard of the field, and you won't have heard of the field until you need a logoped. And although I sincerely hope that that never happens for you personally, I want to tell you a little bit about what this career has been for me as both a researcher and a clinician. So I'll tell a short story about a young boy who was seen as part of our treatment research. And our treatment research is designed to help children develop the language skills they need to succeed in school and in social situations and in life. And the child in question has a developmental language disorder. And you may have remembered, or you may have been asleep while this came up, but when this disorder was first described in the 1950s, a medical doctor recognized that these children looked much like adults who had lost language skills after an injury to the brain, most often a stroke. But these children did not seem to have the other signs of a stroke. And they have the full intelligence of other children, but fail to be able to put the ideas that they so clearly have in their heads into words. And the first name for this condition was developmental aphasia, because the medical doctor recognized the parallels between what was happening in these children and what was happening in adults with brain damage. A little later on in the 60s and 70s, the term changed to minimal brain damage because it must be so minimal that we can't find it. But still it was this idea that there must be some damage to the brain. By the time I came along, people were talking about, well, maybe this is going on because their parents aren't talking to them right, and more specifically their mothers, because, you know, blame the mother. So, and about the same time I came to my doctoral studies, MRI was invented. And some of you might have firsthand experience with MRI. If you have, you'll know that it's a non-invasive means of looking inside the body, but you have to hold still, which for children is quite a exercise. But nonetheless, we figured out how to get kids to do this, and we looked in their brains, and it turns out they didn't have brain damage. What they had instead was a change in their brain structure that signaled to us that their brain had actually been developing differently since the time they were in the womb. That this disorder could not have been caused by mothers talking poorly to their children, because you can talk all you want while you're pregnant, it's not going to change how the brain develops. So the early instinct that this was a brain-based disorder was absolutely correct. But it wasn't what we expected. It was not damage at all. It was a difference in how their brain developed. So we're going to fast forward some decades to now we're doing treatment research with these children. And we know that we can help them and we can make their skills better. We're not going to cure them. They're going to have this disorder for the rest of their lives. And they're going to work harder than the rest of us to communicate, to read, to write. So we had these children in our program for 6 weeks in the summer, and we're treating them for their inability to formulate thoughts into words. And I won't tell you how this child did. He did well, other than that. But I'll tell you something else about him. So on the last day, his mother comes to us with a card in her hand. And she's shaking a little bit. And she wants us to see this. And it's a birthday invitation to a birthday party from one of the other children. And she says to us, "My son has never had a friend because he couldn't talk well enough to make a friend." And when kids can't talk at the age of 4, they tend to do other things that aren't so nice to get their needs met and make themselves understood. But now he had a friend. And that is the important work that we do. So I could have told you any number of other stories, but this one comes to my heart. I could tell you about the basketball coach who, college basketball in the United States is very big, and this woman was a top coach and was not able to do her job because she had developed vocal nodules and lost her voice by the first half of the game, every game, and how we can help that. And I could have told you about the grandmother with a new grandson who had lost the ability to read because she developed a disorder that's only been recently described in the literature called primary progressive aphasia. And what she wanted was to be able to share her love of books with her new grandson, and how the treatment research that she participated in allowed that to happen. So that gives you a sense of why I am happy to get up in the morning and happy to do the research that we are engaged in doing. And I also want to recognize that, that like my own philosophy, that the biology of communication disorders goes hand in hand with the humanity of them, and how wonderful it is here at the University of Bergen that the logopedics program here was the first in the country to marry the biological sciences with the communication disorders that they are training young people to go out and treat. I also want to end by saying that I am deeply sensible of the honor that this honorary doctorate comes with and my now lifetime affiliation with the University of Bergen, that I will be pleased and proud to wear the ring and show off the degree in my office and probably talk to people about it until they can't stand it anymore. So thank you very much on behalf of all the honorees tonight.
Thank you so much for your inspiring speech, Professor Planta. This ceremony has come to an end. And after the academic procession, when we go out, you are all invited to a reception in Christie Cafe here in this same building. So, thank you all for attending, and to our new honorary doctors once again, thank you for accepting the awards and congratulations.